Welcome to a little intro overview of Roblox Studio. So I'll briefly go over what some of these do, just so you can get a little familiarity with it. So I use this a lot right here. So to generate a part, I can go down to this arrow right underneath part, and I can choose to generate a block, sphere, wedge, corner wedge, or a cylinder. So if I wanted to generate a block, it'll generate a block for me right there, and I can grab it and move it wherever I want to. If I wanted to generate a sphere, I can generate one right there. If I wanted to generate a cylinder, can do it right there. So I have 3 parts generated, and to delete it, you just go ahead and hit the delete key while the part is highlighted. So I'm gonna delete that. And I'm going to keep this block here just for now. This spawn location here, it comes by default with whenever you generate a new project. So that spawn location is where your character spawns. I'll go ahead and I'll delete that for now. Now that we have our part, by the way, how I'm moving around is I'm using the WASD key. So if you're like a somewhat of a gamer, this might be familiar to you. This would be how you move in a lot of MMO games. And then to revolve around the part, I would hold down on the right click on the mouse, and then I would just hold down while I move around the object. But if I just stood in one spot and I held down the right click, this is how I would look around. And if I use the scroll on the mouse or the mouse wheel, I can zoom in, zoom out. Yeah. And if I wanted to go up and down, that would be the E to go up and Q to go down. So a lot of these keys will be very useful when you're using Roblox Studio. Next off, we have some of these useful tools that you'll use pretty often as well. First is select. That just lets you move your part around. Move it around. Next, we have our move key. So this also lets you move it around as well, except you can move it in a certain axis. So if I wanted to move along the Z axis, I'll hold on to the blue arrows. If I wanted to move it up and down on the Y axis, I will hold down on the Y while I drag, and then same with the X axis right here. So that's very useful. And then we have our scale up here, which lets us resize our part. So similarly, you can grab an axis and just drag it. And yeah. And then we have our rotate tool, which lets us rotate the object. So if I wanted to rotate along the Y, I would grab that and I'll rotate my cube. If I wanted to rotate it along my X axis, I'll grab the red. If I want to rotate along my Z, grab the blue. That's how you rotate. And then it's useful too if you learn the hotkeys, which in my case is Control 1, 2, 3, and 4. So if I would select Control and 1, that's to select. If I choose Control 2, that's to move. Control 3 to scale. And Control 4 to rotate. And this will help you speed up your process by a bit, I'd say. So you don't have to keep going up and clicking to do certain tasks. And yeah, that's basically the main basic movements. Next up, you have your toolbox. You click on toolbox. Over here, if you're lazy, you want to just explore what other people have already created, you can go ahead and let's go down to models. You have models, you have videos, images, meshes, plugins, audio. But when I first started with Studio, I went under models a lot, and I just dragged in a bunch of models just to play around with that and get familiar with objects like that. So I would drag in my sword, I drag in a tree house. Yeah, you can drag in just anything you want. This whole world's yours. Uh, yeah, I guess to start off, you would just mess around with this just to see how things work and how models are created and all that. Or you can even build. I've seen people build full games just using free models like these. But when you're using free models like this, they tend to look the same as other people. So, but if you're just trying to pump out a game, then yeah, it works. Why not, right? So if I hit play, let me show you that again. This play button right here lets you basically test out the game. So if I hit play, then I'm able to, play around with that. Car won't move. E, I can drive. And yeah, I have my tree house there. And so yeah, I already have like, some models. You basically already have a game. You can just drag stuff in and just edit it a little and you'll have yourself a game. That's why I love the toolbox. And you can use other things like videos, images for, UIs and all that. You have images, you have plugins. Plugins will be useful. I'll make another video about that. But for now, just get familiar with the general studio tools. That's mainly it for your toolbox. We have our, let me delete all of these items here. We have our editor or our terrain editor. So if you wanted to draw out your own map, you can click on editor and you click on edit, or you can generate. But I know a lot of people go to edit and they would just draw something. And down here you can click or you can select your material. So if I wanted to select leafy grass, I would just draw leafy grass around here and it would generate the terrain for me. And if I wanted ice around that, I can do that. Generate an ice field. You can select the shape of it, the size. You can select the height. You can just play around with that. You can sculpt. You can paint. And yeah, it's a very useful tool if you're trying to pump out a map ASAP. And then yeah, that's our terrain editor, which is up here. Next, we have our UI, which if you've already watched my tutorial on user interface or creating a menu UI, if you haven't already, go check that out. And I teach you how to create a menu. Let me clear this terrain. Okay. So if we go over to UI, we can create a graphical user interface using some of these tools right here. We have our text button, text label, image button. And yeah, I mean, I won't go into that here. Just check out my other video for that tutorial. But that's there for you. We have our material manager. So if I wanted to change the material of this cube, for example, I can change it to a brick. And I would just click this apply button at the top right corner. And now my block is now a brick. I can change it to a glacier. I can change it to grass. I can change it to neon. Change it to sand. And then you have other options here. And yeah, you can just play around with that. Change it to stone. And yeah, or this is a relatively new feature, which is a material generator. You can, let AI do it for you. You put in a description and then it'll generate something for you. Like if I type in anime grass or something, and I click generate, it's going to generate for me what it thinks is anime grass, and I can use that to apply. It's taking a little while now, but yeah, it gives you a bunch of options here. If I select that, and then yeah, it gets applied to my block, so now it has that grass. And that's it for your materials. You can change your color of the block to whatever, green, blue, red. But you can also change it on the properties. The properties window is on the right hand side over here. I can change the color of that using that here. I can change the material to whatever I want. I'm going to change it to ice. Then I'm going to change the color to something blue like that. And then over here, you can also change other properties. Like if I wanted to change the size to something else, like, 20.6. Now it gets changed on the x-axis. If I wanted to change it on the z-axis, change that to 20 as well. Now I get like a square. You can change the position. You can change the other properties where can collide means it. If I unchecked it, your character can walk right through it. And then yeah, that's that. Anchor lets you anchor down the part. So if it's like floating in the air, it just floats there. It doesn't fall down. Locking allows you to, if I click on the lock, then I click on my cube. Now it's locked. So if I try to select it, it won't let me select it anymore. So now I have to unlock it. Now if I unlock it, now I can select it again. And yeah, that's it for the main menu. Stay tuned for other tutorials where I show you how these other tabs work. But this is a basic overview that can get you started on Roblox building. So if you have any questions, leave a comment, and I'd appreciate a like and a follow. See you on the next video.